Hey everyone, I am your host for today, Elisha. Thank you for tuning in to this podcast. And as we about to listen to this episode, I want you to listen to understand. And whatever it is that you've understood, I want you to apply it in your life. Shalom. Glory be to God on February the 14th, which is a day dedicated to the Christian priest named Valentine, and just as it is accepted globally as a day of love. But I think the whole world, or let me stereotype, let me just say average populations that celebrate Valentine, I think they are stuck in a reality, ignoring the idea. You see, if you call it a day of love because of what he did, and you say we should extend love and we should give and all of these things, that's you being stuck in the reality of what the Christian priest did named Valentine. You see, I've talked about reality and I've talked about idea before. You see, if you are stuck in the reality of a thing, you will live a life full of regrets, because reality is only accepting and understanding the literal meaning of a thing or of a message. The surface truth of a message, that's what reality simply means. Yeah, Valentine did all that he did. He was merging couples, and that's an act of love. That's you being stuck in the reality. But idea is quite different, and there is no one who lives in the idea of a thing that will ever regret doing that thing or understanding that thing. Idea is the underlying truth or underlying intent, underlying purpose behind the theme or behind the message. You see, Valentine did something really beautiful, but we shouldn't place focus on the aspect of what he did as an act of love, but instead let us seek the idea behind what he did and not just the reality. Because in reality we say he did an act of love, but what is the true idea? What is the underlying intent behind that action? Let me give you a backstory. The Roman Emperor, what's his name? Claudius II, alright? And this is the 3rd century, 269 AD. He had a desire. And what was the desire? The desire was for him not to be very easy for his enemy to catch. He wants to be so powerful, and at the same time he wants to have a great protection. So he discovered that if he has a weak army, that wouldn't be possible. Then he realized that, okay, I think this is what I'm going to do. He discovered that those soldiers who do not have a family, actually, they are more efficient and effective in their doings than those folks who have a family. So in other words, according to this Claudius II, I don't know if I pronounced it correctly, he said the soldiers without families are stronger than the soldiers who's got family. And that's actually a weak point. You get it? And that's what he's avoiding, because he doesn't want any means for his enemy to get to him. So what did he do? He then came up with a policy that I call a demonic policy. What was the policy? He said, henceforth, he's placing ban on young men getting married. Then he said, young men wouldn't get married again in Rome. Alright, and that was the instruction he gave. Okay, and it became a law. And that's actually a demonic policy. Because imagine Abraham didn't get married to Sarah. Imagine these things. Just imagine these things with me. And the guy was saying, in other words, he was saying, I want to interrupt God's plan. The folks, the kids who are to come out of these families when they come together, I want to interrupt it. Oh boy. Abraham and Sarah came together. They had Ishmael, they had Isaac. Even where to be the time when this guy was talking and those folks were young, it would have been impossible. He was trying to abolish God's way of doing things. And here we have the amazing Christian priest, Valentine, and he stood against it. Alright, he went against it, and he understood that that was a demonic policy. And he checked around. He discovered that other priests never said anything about it. He's looking for change. He's looking for change. And no other one tried to change what is going on. Then you know what he did? It became the change he never had or he never saw. It became the change he never saw. So what did he do? He started getting folks married secretly. And because he doesn't want the demon to control him. And he doesn't want Satan's plans to work out. Alright? And he doesn't want Satan's policies to interrupt God's plans. So he stood against oppressive and demonic policies. That was the idea behind what he did. And he was marrying folks secretly, and they caught him. Alright? And the king ordered that he be killed. And he was firstly put in jail. And according to legend, they said while he was in the jail, he was sending out letters. And at the end of the letter, he used something like, "Your Valentine." Okay? Then he was killed on this day, 269 AD. And over time, folks then turned the day to a love day and all of these things that these guys do. Don't be stuck in the reality. Seek the idea. The idea actually is what he did. So if you truly want to celebrate Valentine's Day, the focus shouldn't be on buying gift to your partner and buying all of these flowers and that's all. The focus therefore should be doing what he did, which is going against oppressive and demonic policies. You see, there are folks who have hugged and accepted oppressive and demonic policies, and yet they are celebrating Valentine's Day because they miss the idea behind what he did and they're stuck in the reality. So seek after the idea of anything and you wouldn't live a life of regret. Okay, thank you. So this past week, I've actually been feeding my spirit some breakfast, lunch, and dinner back to back on a particular Bible verse that I find really, really interesting. And that's going to lead to the title, which is the societal pattern. That's the title for today's teaching. The societal patterns. Oh boy. You see, right from when we were born into some society's pattern. And this pattern is so automatic that we cannot skip it. We just have to go with it. You see, there is a pattern as to how to give. There is a pattern as to how to pray that the society gave us. There is a society pattern as to how to fast. There is also a societal pattern as to how to do everything. So today I'm going to be talking about some, and Jesus discovered this and Jesus went against it in St. Matthew chapter 6. You see, okay, let's add to it. St. Matthew chapter 6, let's start from verse 1. Jesus said, "Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven." Oh boy. You see, I've thought about this before, but you see, I just want to teach on it again to emphasize how important it is because I've been on this particular verse for weeks now. Very important one. Jesus said, firstly, you've got to be careful. Careful because you might not even know. You might be in it already. It could catch you unaware. When someone tell you, "Hey guy, be careful while you're driving," I think there is a pothole forward. Right on that spot you're going through, there's a pothole there. It told you to be careful because you don't know one. And even if it didn't tell you, there is possibility that you might enter into the pothole and destroy your tires. So Jesus says be careful because number one, we might not even know that we are under any societal pattern. And he's informing us now to bring all of these things into our awareness because we may not know. And he said, be careful. Each time you're practicing your righteousness, ensure that you aren't doing it to be seen by others. Let me give you a practical example. All right. There is a particular guy. Okay, each time he goes to visit his friends, when those guys now ask him, "Hey guy, wouldn't you eat?" He would say, nah, I'm fasting. They say, "Wow, really? You fasting? Oh boy, how you just so different from us, guy? You see, each time you come around, you just used to make us think our lives and all of these things. Oh boy, how long have you been fasting now? He said, well, not too long, just 7 days. Wow, really? And the truth is, the guy ain't fast. And he went to his friend's place just to be seen by them. So he cooked up those lies to get praised by them and to get honored by them. And now here we have another guy, truthfully speaking, he is fasting. And he went to visit his friend and he looked so pale, ugly, and sick. He just looked like that himself, not that he's sick, but he refused to take good care of his hair, his face, and anoint his hair and look sharp and all. Intentionally, he dressed that way. So when he got there, the folks didn't quickly realize what was going on. Alright, because they were all busy chit-chatting and all of these things. Then on the long run, he discovered that he didn't notice that he was looking pale because he was fasting. Then he just fell and collapsed, not something serious. Then they say, hey, you're fine. And I say, yeah, I'll be fine. They said, what's wrong with you? Then the other friends came, what's wrong with you? They say, actually, I've been fasting for 14 days now. So, when you guys just called for us to have a nice time together, I couldn't say no because it's been a while or so. Yeah, so I just had to call. Jesus is saying, yeah, those guys will feel, wow, they will honor you, they will praise you, they will respect you. Jesus said, that's the only reward you will ever get. And the truth is, it ain't our fault. That's because we are all stuck in this societal pattern. We want to live our lives based on how others feel. We want to impress one another. We want folks to say, you see that guy? Oh boy, he fasts all the time. He loves the Lord and he's so intentional about his relationship with God. We want to hear this thing. And Jesus says, if that's the kind of person that you are, that's the only reward you would ever get. It says, whenever you want to practice the righteousness, ensure you're doing it in front of others, to be seen by them. You see, I used to fall into this category years back when I was still stuck in the religious practices. Alright? Actually, mine ain't this serious though, but you see, I just didn't know, okay? So each time I'm fasting, and I'm always on the mountain at times, and I look so ugly and pale. Not that I was doing it intentionally, but I just feel I should be like that. You get it? So God can know I'm so serious with the fasting and all. I just look pale and ugly, and before you know it, some folks will notice that, oh, this guy ain't looking alright. And they will come to meet me. I trust you're doing good. I say, yeah, I'm fine. And they're so persistent. I don't think you're fine. I say, yeah, I'm actually fasting. You see, and they would praise me and say all sort of beautiful words, and I'll feel really good and I'll feel excited. I feel respected and honored, not knowing that I've got no reward in heaven for doing that fast. And that's so sad. Whatever thing that is righteous that you want to practice, do not do it to be seen by others. Do not. Be it prayer. Be it reading of the Bible. You see, in our former street, alright, back then with my parents, there was this particular old man. You see, the fella is always on the public street with his Bible turned upside down. And the man was always doing stuff because he wanted the passerby to say, that old folks is reading the Bible. And see, we young fella reading the Bible once in a blue moon. Then until one day when the folks got so close to the older man and they said, hey, Papa, we see you reading the Bible. And what's the chapter you're reading now? And the guy moved so close to the Bible and discovered that the Bible was turned upside down. The old fella wasn't reading anything. He was just trying to hold the Bible that the folks who are passing may say, that's a good man, reading the Bible always and all the time. You see, he was seeking impression. He wanted folks to praise him. He wanted folks to show a sign of respect. And he was doing all of that just to gain their respect. And Jesus says that's all you would ever receive. You've got no reward in heaven for reading even that Bible. Or for even doing that fast. You've got no reward in heaven if your goal is to be honored, respected, and praised by men. And that's really terrible. And Jesus says if you do that, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. So, in other words, if you fast, according to Jesus, you've got a reward in heaven for fasting. If you pray, according to Jesus, you've got a reward in heaven set aside for you by your heavenly Father. But you see, according to Jesus, if you fast just to be seen by others, The praises and the honor and the respect you get from them, that's the only reward you would ever get. And tell me, what is the essence of those stuffs that wouldn't even last? I tell you. So you have to be very careful. We're stuck in societal patterns and we think these stuffs are right. You know why? Because they actually suit our bodily desires. The human body is such a very dangerous body that it seeks after things that destroys it. And that's why even though those smokers knows that smokers are liable to die young, they keep smoking. Even though those folks who know that alcohol ain't good, they keep taking it. Even those folks who know that all of these drugs and these things ain't nice, they keep doing it because why? Their bodies keep calling for it. So the body is actually a very dangerous thing that it'll want you to do things that will destroy you. So we want to fast that others see that we're fasting because that's what our body wants, even though it will only lead to destruction. We wouldn't get any reward for doing it. So Jesus said we shouldn't be like that. And the verse 2 now. Jesus also understands that even in the society there is a pattern as to how to give. Jesus said in verse 2, he said, when you want to give to the needy, do not announce it. Oh boy. This is something that is quite difficult for some other folks to do. And you see, when I understood this truth, it actually changed how I think, and I discovered these patterns in the society. Jesus said, when you want to give to that brother that is hungry, or that sister that is hungry, or that baby that needs a heart transplant or kidney transplant, when you want to give anything to the needy, Jesus said you don't need to announce it. And can I tell you how folks announce things? Now you want to give the hungry man food and you have a friend around and you say, yeah, I'm coming. I just want to give that hungry man, I want to give him some food. You've just announced it. You see, whatever it is that you want to do that no one knows about, you've not announced it. But you see, the moment the person next to you or the person far away from you can tell that this is what you want to do in the next so and so, then you've announced it. So when you do things like that, Jesus says you have no reward. Look at what he said. I didn't write the Bible. These are the sayings of Jesus. He said, do not announce it with trumpets as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets to be honored by others. You see, these particular folks, they are religious folks. All right. They want to give to hungry fellows now. You know what they do? They call all of these trumpet guys and all of these folks who beat the drums just because they want to give to folks who are hungry. Because they know if they make it that loud, there'll be a lot of eyes on them, and that's what we call impression this day. There'll be a lot of impressions, and folks will see and honor them and say, oh boy, didn't you see the last giving? He gave about $100,000 to that guy. Oh boy, impressive. And all of these things. Jesus says, yeah, that's the only reward you would ever get. Oh boy. So how then do we give? How then do we give? Because the society has taught us wrong things as to how to give. And now we are stuck in doing things that pleases our bodies. You see? And that's why it is very important to understand the kingdom of God. And I'm teaching you this stuff because I am a citizen of God's kingdom, of which I believe you are if you have been following this teaching. If you have been following me from when I started, you should understand that you're a citizen of God's kingdom. Because that's all I preach. And that's all I teach. And now, these things I'm teaching you now, these are the cultures of God's kingdom. You see, folks who are in the kingdom of God, this is how they react, and this is how they respond to things, and this is how they handle things, and this is how they go about things, or go about doing things. These are the culture that we have in God's kingdom. So you want to give now, the next time you want to give, Jesus says, do not make an announcement. If it's possible, do not allow your spouse to know that you want to go give the needy something. If it is possible, do not allow even your parents, even your kids, do not allow them to know anything. That if they notice that some funds left the account and they ask you what happened, just tell them it went for the Lord's work. That way you are acting like a citizen of heaven. But if God tells you, if the King of heaven tells you to tell them, then you should. But if he doesn't tell you anything about informing them, do not. Because your reward is so important. And you see, okay, let me ask you a question. How excited would you be? Take for instance, you're not really financially buoyant, all right, and you got an email from one of the wealthiest guys in the world. And in this email, the guy said, if you can reply to this email without telling anyone that I sent you this email, I have a reward for you. Now, One of the most popular and richest guys in the world sent you an email. And he said, do not tell anyone I sent you this email. And if you do that, then I have a reward for you. And he says, I'm going to tell you, in the next 24 hours, if you do not tell anyone that I sent you an email, then you are qualified and eligible for the reward. Then I would credit your account. Would you believe him, yes or no? You would believe him. Why? Because you know how wealthy this guy is. And now we've got a lot of convincing proof that he's the one. Not that someone is trying to impersonate him, but that's the real person. And he gave you that instruction. You wouldn't even want to lose that chance. As someone who is smart now, you wouldn't want to tell anybody. Even though your body wants you to announce, so and so just sent me an email. Your body wants you to tell other folks because, you get honored doing that. But because he instructed you now, you wouldn't want to do so. Because you believe him. And you know how wealthy he is. And now 24 hours is gone, you told no one. And he credited your account with a lot of money. Now, Jesus, who created even the riches that these guys are claiming to be theirs rather, said to you, whenever you want to give anyone anything, do not make announcement of it. He said, if you do, and you're being seen by others because you did, Jesus said, that's the only reward you will ever get. But Jesus said, if you do not, that you kept it secret, then he said, your Father, who sees our secret, will reward you. And you see, when God says, I'm going to reward you for something, oh boy, it is nothing compared to when the richest guy in the world says, I'm going to reward you. Because all of the riches that even the richest guy in the world want to give to you, God created them. So if God says, I'm going to reward you, then that's something far greater than what you can even think or imagine. So when you want to give, do not make announcement of it. Look at how serious it is. According to Jesus, he said, when you want to give to the needy, now let me teach you. Ignoring the societal patterns, let me teach you. According to Jesus said, let me teach you. Listen, when you want to give to the needy, who are the needy? He ain't necessarily anyone on the roadside with the bowl in front of them. But it could be the neighbor next door who haven't eaten. It could be the folks who need a heart transplant or kidney transplant. It could be anyone who probably needs just a cup of water. Anyone in need of something that you have. And he said, do not make an announcement of it. Now, this is how to give in such a way that it will please God. And you would also have rewards waiting for you. Jesus said, if you want to give, do it like this. He said, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Now, your right hand is part of your body. And your left hand is part of your body, so close to one another that each day they touch one another. And Jesus is saying, what your right hand want to do, try so much that your left hand wouldn't know anything about it. Your left hand could be your spouse. It could be your boss at work. It could be your friend. It could even be your fans on social media. Jesus said, let no one knows. Now look at what he said. He said, why? The reason is, if you do that, then your giving may be in secret. So Jesus is actually saying, if you want to give to anyone, prioritize secret giving instead of that one that comes with public announcement. He said, prioritize giving secretly, because only when you give secretly, that way, you're doing it the right way as a citizen of heaven, then you have a reward in heaven. Oh, but the society never taught me this. As a matter of fact, if I haven't carried cameras and mic because I want to give, I am not a giver yet, according to the society. So therefore, I'm going to pause here today, and I'm going to end with this few statement. Who do you think you should believe? The society or God who created even all of us? If the society said you've got to make a hell of noise because you want to give to the needy, and if God says your giving should be secret, then you should understand that there is someone or there is an influence behind the society, which is those demonic forces, those boys that work for the devil, those demons. The devil controls them and he tells them what to do. And now when you give and you make public announcement, you're not pleasing God. And the only one you're pleasing is the devil. You see, your body loves to do things that will destroy it. And that's for you to know that your body doesn't have control over itself anymore. The devil controls it. And so your body's got to concord to do things that pleases the devil. So your body longs for things that will destroy it. Like I mentioned earlier. You know you ain't good to smoke. You know you ain't good to take alcohol. But you keep doing this stuff. Not because you want to, but because your body loves destruction. It loves things that destroys it. And that's because of its 100% loyalty to the devil. I'm going to leave it to you. Think about it. The next time you want to give and the next time you want to practice your righteousness, I would say you try as much as possible not to do it to be seen by others, but to do it in secret so that God may reward you. Thank you so very much for listening to this podcast. God bless you abundantly, and it is well with you in Jesus' mighty name. Don't forget, the Holy Spirit is in charge, and in Him we live, move, and have our being. Shout. Hey everyone, thank you so very much for listening to that wonderful episode by me. And do well to join our subscriber chat. We've got to stay connected. And the link to our subscriber chat will be available on the show note to this particular episode. Thank you and God bless you. Shalom.